Do you tell yourself that when my syllabus is complete, then I will start writing answers? Or that it's 8:35 right now, I'll start studying at 9 o'clock. Or that it's Saturday today, so I will start studying on Monday. Or sometimes you say, it's 25th today, so how about I start from 1st of the next month? In all of these situations, you know the negative consequences. You know that you will fall behind compared to your competitors. And yet, you choose to scroll social media. If you are doing any of this, then my dear friends, you are procrastinating. Hello, I am Devyani, and I am a trained psychologist presently associated with Zishan Sir's Demolish Prelims program. And I will be connecting with you live in Demolish Prelims Bootcamp, which is starting from 20th of November. Now, in this video, I am going to teach you how to get rid of your procrastination by tricking your brain using the simple yet powerful 5-minute rule. The first thing that we need to ask ourselves is, what is procrastination? According to the renowned psychologist Clary Lay, procrastination is the gap between intention and action. हम कोई चीज करना चाहते हैं बट हम उसे कर नहीं पाते हैं. That is procrastination. For example, there are times when we decide that we are going to start a new subject on a certain day, or that we're going to write a mock, or that we're going to write answers. So we make all the arrangements for it. It is in our timetable. We buy the right material, we buy the right pen, we do everything. But on the day when we were supposed to actually do that task, we don't do it. The intention is there, but the action is not there. The tasks that we tend to procrastinate are the ones that we find either challenging or uninteresting, or where there is a fear of negative outcome. For example, when it comes to answer writing, we know that it is going to be difficult, it is going to be challenging. So instead of starting doing it, we simply choose to procrastinate it. हम उसे करते ही नहीं हैं क्योंकि हमें लगता है कि बहुत मुश्किल है ये. या फिर अगर कोई सब्जेक्ट है जो हमें बोरिंग लगता है, अनइंटरेस्टिंग लगता है, इट कुड बी एंशियंट हिस्ट्री फॉर सम पीपल. फॉर मी पर्सनली इट वाज साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी व्हेन आई वाज इन दिस प्रिपरेशन. So then you tend to procrastinate these kind of tasks. And the third one, of course, is the fear of negative outcome. Sometimes we are so scared of doing a task. For example, when it comes to giving mock tests, we all know that tests are very important when you are doing your prelims preparation. But we keep waiting to finish the syllabus. Why is that? Because कहीं ना कहीं हमें पता होता है कि जब हम मॉक टेस्ट करेंगे तो हमें मार्क्स मिलेंगे, और अगर वो मार्क्स अच्छे नहीं होंगे तो हमें बुरा लगेगा. So in order to avoid that negative outcome, we end up procrastinating that task entirely. So the question is, why do we procrastinate? Now, if you are able to understand the neuropsychological basis of procrastination, I promise you, you will not have to procrastinate anything ever again. To understand this, I am going to have to give you a couple of tasks. Now, I know that 99% of you will not be doing these tasks. Still, I am going to ask you to do them so that you understand procrastination clearly and evidently. The first task is that you have to arrange these prime ministers age-wise in descending order according to the age they were when they became prime ministers. तो ये जो 3 प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स के नाम हैं आपके सामने, इनको आपको अरेंज करना है डिसेंडिंग ऑर्डर में. तो जो इनमें से सबसे ज्यादा एज के थे जब वो प्राइम मिनिस्टर बने, यू विल स्टार्ट विद दैट प्राइम मिनिस्टर and then you will move down and you will come to the youngest prime minister out of all these three. So you can pause the video, you can take as much time as you need, and you can arrange these in the descending order, write them down somewhere. Now, if you did this task, the answer here is that Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was 72 years old when he became the prime minister. So he comes first in this list. The second one is Mr. Lal Bahadur Shastri, who was 60 at the time of becoming the prime minister. And the last one is Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, who was 40 years old at the time of becoming the prime minister. Now, the second task is, I just want you to identify what is the device that you are using to watch this video right now. So it could be your laptop, it could be your iPad, it could be your phone. Just take 2 seconds and mentally say, what is that device? All right. Now, if I have to ask you, out of these 2 tasks, which task did you find to be easier? Task 1 or task 2? I think that for most of you, the task 2 must have been the easier one, right? Task 1 was much more difficult than task. So if you agree with me, if the task 2, that is identifying the device, was the easier task, and you agree with me, please type yes in the comment box. And if the first task, the one related to prime ministers, was easier for you, then you can write no in the comment box. And I will be watching the comment box curiously to see whether you take the pain of typing that simple yes or that simple no in the comment box or not, and whether you agree with me or not. So now that we have done these tasks, let us try to understand what is the underlying mechanism here. The first concept is that of activation energy. Now here's the thing. The task that is complex has a higher level of activation energy. So what does that mean? That means that the amount of energy that you need to start doing a task, that is higher when it comes to a complex task. But when you have a simple task in front of you, like the device identification task, the activation energy that you require to do it is very less. So you don't need to put in a lot of effort to do that simple task, which is why we tend to procrastinate things that are complex. So the tasks that you have, be it studying, be it doing mock tests, be it answer writing, all of these are complex tasks. They are not simple. When you think about it, studying is actually a very complex task. So is writing a mock test. You have to study for the mock test, and then you have to go to the market, you have to buy the mock test, you have to enroll for the mock test if that is what you're doing, and then you actually do the mock test, which itself is a very difficult task to do. There are so many questions in front of you that you have to do. So that is why we end up procrastinating that kind of a task. The second mechanism is that of executive handicap. So executive functions are the functions that are involved in carrying out a task. किसी भी task को plan करना, उसे actually carry out करना, उसमें जो हम memory use करते हैं, उसमें जो हम attention, concentration use करते हैं, जो हम thinking use करते हैं, ये सारा कुछ executive functions में आता है. And executive functions are controlled by a part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex. Now, sometimes it so happens that when you have a threatening task in front of you, threatening का क्या मतलब है यहाँ पे? Threatening means anything that you think might lead to a negative outcome. ऐसा टास्क जिससे आपको कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा सा डर लग रहा है, थोड़ा सा आप ओवरवेलम हो रहे हो, थोड़ी सी आपकी एंजाइटी बढ़ रही है उस टास्क को करने में, वो टास्क हमारा ब्रेन थ्रेटनिंग समझ लेता है. So when you have a threatening task in front of you, sometimes your executive functions go into a state of handicap. So whatever plans you had made, you are not able to execute them because the prefrontal cortex, which was responsible for those executive functions, is overpowered by your amygdala. Amygdala is the part of the brain that is responsible for us feeling fear. जब भी हमें डर लगता है किसी चीज से, हमें एंजाइटी होती है, तो हमारे एमिगडाला का एक्टिवेशन लेवल इंक्रीज हो जाता है. तो जब हम उस थ्रेटनिंग टास्क को देखते हैं जिससे हमें डर लग रहा है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल डूइंग अ मॉक टेस्ट और राइटिंग एन आंसर, हमारा एमिगडाला हमारे प्री फ्रंटल कॉर्टेक्स को ओवर पावर कर लेता है, और वो जो फियर है वो हमारी सारी प्लानिंग के ऊपर भारी पड़ जाता है, and we are not able to do the task that we had decided to do. The next mechanism is that of dopamine. Now, dopamine is a substance that our brain likes. Dopamine tab release hota hai when we do something pleasurable, right? So when you are engaging in an activity that brings pleasure to you, dopamine is released, and your brain likes dopamine. So you end up engaging more in those pleasurable activities. On the other hand, when you engage in painful activities, when you engage in something you don't like, there is no dopamine release. So compare the two things. एक तरफ है पढ़ाई करना और एक तरफ है इंस्टाग्राम खोल के उसे स्क्रॉल करना. Which of these two bring you more pleasure? It, for most people, it will be social media, because studying is not an inherently enjoyable task for most people. I'm not saying there are not exceptions, लेकिन ज्यादातर लोगों को पढ़ाई करने में मजा नहीं आता है. And that is why the dopamine is able to control our behavior. So we end up avoiding the task that seems more painful to us, which is studying in this case, and we replace it with a task that seems more pleasurable to us, so that we can get that dopamine that our brain is craving and desiring. So now that we have understood the neuropsychological basis of procrastination, the next question is, how do we deal with it? So here I'm going to talk about the 5-minute rule. It is a simple but a very powerful rule which has a success rate of 80%. That means that empirical studies have shown that people who do the 5 minute rule, 80% of them are able to continue with the task. So, what is this rule exactly? This rule states that the only thing you need to do to overcome your procrastination is to do the task for 5 minutes. जो भी टास्क आप अवॉइड कर रहे हो, एस्केप कर रहे हो, जिसे आप लटका रहे हो, सिर्फ उसे 5 मिनट के लिए कर लो. And there's an 80% chance that you will continue doing it. But how does it work? This deceptively simple rule works again because of neuropsychology. The first reason why it works is because when we are thinking that something is difficult, something is complex, we tend to overestimate the difficulty level. कभी कभी हमें ऐसा लगता है कि कोई चीज बहुत डिफिकल्ट है, बट वो एक्चुअली उतनी भी डिफिकल्ट नहीं होती. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू मे बी थिंकिंग 1 महीने से आप आंसर राइटिंग प्रोक्रेस्टिनेट कर रहे होगे, लेकिन जब आप एक्चुअली आंसर राइटिंग करने बैठोगे, यू माइट रियलाइज दैट इट वाज नॉट एज डिफिकल्ट एज यू थॉट. सो द क्वेश्चन वाज ओनली दैट ऑफ स्टार्टिंग. The moment you start, you realize that you built it up for no reason in your mind. The second reason is the Zeigarnik effect. Now, this effect states that whenever we leave something incomplete, it makes us uncomfortable. कोई भी काम जो हम बीच में छोड़ देते हैं, वो हमें अनकंफर्टेबल लगता है, वो हमारे माइंड में एक नेगेटिव स्टेट क्रिएट करने लग जाता है. Now, this is because our brain, there is a part in our brain called the hippocampus, which is related with memory. So the thing with hippocampus is it stores incomplete tasks ka memory in a very different way. So when you leave a task incomplete, the memory for that incomplete task is stored differently in the hippocampus as compared to the task that you were able to complete. So when you leave a task incomplete, it remains in your memory. It keeps bothering you that you have to do this. So that is one of the reasons. The next one is that of habit loop. Now, we talked about dopamine earlier as well. Dopamine is something that is released when we do something pleasurable. Studying is not an inherently pleasurable task. लेकिन अगर आप पढ़ाई 5 मिनट के लिए कर लो, और वो भी एक ऐसे टॉपिक की जो आप करना नहीं चाहते थे, जो आप बहुत दिन से लटका रहे थे, मॉक टेस्ट जो आप अवॉइड कर रहे थे, आंसर राइटिंग जो आप अवॉइड कर रहे थे, अगर आप उसे 5 मिनट के लिए भी कर लोगे, यू विल फील अ सेंस ऑफ अचीवमेंट because you have done something that was difficult for you. And that sense of achievement will give you the dopamine that your brain needs. And that dopamine will help you continue doing that task. And you will be able to escape the vicious cycle of procrastination. Now, this was one of the things that you can do to counter your procrastination, but there are other methods as well. For example, there is time blocking, there are prioritization frameworks, there is visual progress tracking, etc. We will be discussing all of these techniques in our Demolish Prelims program, where we will not only be dealing with procrastination, but also other topics like concentration, time management, consistency, discipline. So if you are facing problems in any of these, we have 10 detailed sessions for you with live assignments, with feedback in real time, so that your performance is enhanced in a holistic manner. I will see you in the Demolish Prelims program. Thank you.